Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 2, Episode 11, Fear Her. Before we begin, I'd like to apologise if you can hear some sort of weird, alarmy noise outside. Just making a funny noise, I'm not sure. Anyway, so, Fear Her. Before we start, I'd just like to say that before I rewatched this episode, I didn't really think I liked this episode. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I didn't really think I was that fond of it. It's definitely one of the most unpopular stories of the new series. Possibly, I think, in the Doctor Who magazine poll that they did in 2014 that I mentioned in the last review, I think it was the second least popular story after Twin Dynamo. It came second last, and therefore became the last new series story. Again, I wonder how things have changed after 2015's Hellbent was shown, which, surprisingly, as I mentioned in Love and Monsters review, there are fans of Twin Dynamo and Love and Monsters out there. I think Hellbent does have its fans as well. So, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of stories people don't like, but there are the occasional fans of those stories, and there's lots of stories lots of people love, but there are the occasional people that don't like those stories. Dave the Doctor, for example, is a popular story, but there are the occasional fans that will say, wasn't too fond of it, for instance. And Blink's another one, surprisingly. And like I said in my Genesis of the Daleks review, before I rewatched that story, I liked it, but I thought it was very overrated. And then rewatching it, I did love it, although I still consider it, though I would not consider it the best story of the show, but I can see why people would. But yeah, so loves and hates can go either way, I guess. Oh, thank goodness, that noise has stopped. Anyway, coming out of this story, I actually kind of liked it a little bit more. I mean, I still consider it the weakest story of Series 2 and the weakest story of the new series so far, although it's still got the same score as Boomtown, but I consider Boomtown a slightly stronger story. Or at least, yeah, I would. So, the plot of Fear Her is that this creature known as the Asylus creature has come to Earth by accident, and is alone because it's separated from its brothers and sisters, about 4 million or 4 billion, did they say? Oh no, it's started back up again. And it finds this girl, Chloe Webber, in Stratford, London, in the year 2012, just before the Olympic Games, and it decides to go inside of her, and for the next week or so, it feels very lonely, despite being with Chloe Webber, who's also a bit lonely, but I don't think to the same extent. The Isolus then starts using Chloe's ability to draw really well, to then draw people into people and things into pictures, which then takes them out of real time. So it's just start kidnapping kids and fluffy animals, such as cats, and put them into drawing, and they're trapped in those drawings and stuck there, which of course makes them unhappy, and which makes Isolus unhappy because they're moaning. Of course, if those pictures were able to speak, perhaps Isolus would understand that they don't like being trapped. Anyway, the Doctor and Rose arrive on their way to go to the London 2012 Olympics, which are only a few days away. In fact, the torch is supposedly coming past the estate that they've arrived at later that day. However, they soon stumble across this mystery, and eventually they decide to investigate and try and find out what's happened. And when they discover what's going on, they try to help the Isolus child. However, because the Isolus child is a child, so its loneliness and being scared and fearful can lead it to having temper tantrums. And it decides that rather than having help, it wants to get rid of the Doctor, which leads to Rose having to go it alone for the last third of the episode to try and help the Isolus creature go back to Earth, before it ultimately decides it needs to... Well, first it takes out everyone at the stadium, at the Olympic Stadium, and then it decides it needs to take the entire world. Okay. The Isolus child got a bit desperate after the Doctor and Rose popped in, possibly because Chloe Webber has regular and recurring nightmares of her abusive late father, and Chloe Isolus has drawn him in the back of the wardrobe, and now the Artron energy from the Isolus child that kidnaps the kids and puts them into the drawings is starting to make him come alive. So him being a potential reason to be a fear towards Chloe. So Chloe's fear of him and Isolus's loneliness possibly ramp up the emotions of the character in the last third. That's my guess. Eventually, Rose is able to find the pod with help from Cal, a councilman who has a council axe in a council van, and Rose uses it to dig up a council road, and he wants to report it to the council. I almost got that right. I almost got it. Oh, I didn't screw up too badly. Okay. He's reporting her to the council. Okay, that bit was funny. That was a funny bit. This episode does have a few laugh moments, and it is more of a child-friendly, light-hearted episode than most of the other episodes in the show, especially considering the next story would be the emotional epic two-parter of the series. It would be a bit of a darker story next week. So having a child-friendly episode here makes a lot of sense. Eventually, Rose is able to send a pod to the torch thing, and then the Doctor, when he's released from the drawings, he's able to run the torch when the athlete gets injured, and he takes it up to the stadium to light the torch to kickstart the games. And Isolus is sent on its way, and everybody is returns back to Stratford. And everybody returns home safe and sound, no problems. Chloe's returned to normal. The kidnapped kids and Cat, presumably Cat, are back to normal. And whilst the abusive dad from Chloe's memories are on their way, she and her mum are able to band together and sing to fight against the evil of these evil recurring dreams. Yeah. So on the whole, Fear Her, I think it's a okay episode. I think it's okay. I think it's got some fun moments, but I think it is a bit simple in places. A bit simple, a bit yeah, I think it's just a simple story, but I think it works as a simple story. I don't think it needs to be anything spectacular. It's alright. I don't think there's too much bad about it. I don't think the actress playing Chloe is that great, but she does okay with what she's got to do, and I think the drawn father picture when coming to life with all of his dialogue is so cliche and gets a bit boring where towards the end when he's coming back. It's fine for a scare earlier on, but when towards the end it just feels a bit bland and boring dialogue. He's scary, yes, but his dialogue needed work. And yeah, just despite being I think it was a bit simple in places, just simple story. But maybe that's what Doctor Who needs once in a while. You can always have the fantastical, sci-fi, exciting, epic adventures with returning monsters like the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Master and so forth. But once in a while, you might want to come back down to Earth, go to a normal regular street, normal couple of regular houses, and do a couple of adventures with ordinary people once in a while. And I know some people aren't always going to be on board with that. I know Stuart Hardy, is not a fan of The Lodger nor Closing Time, as he doesn't really care about this one guy and his flat or house, and he's not really caring about it. So I can understand if people aren't really fans of the more down-to-earth, mundane life of characters, especially in the new series when we get a bit more of it, because we're getting more relatable characters, as that was the intention from Russell T Davies and maybe Stephen Moffat and Tris Chibnall as well, more so from Russell though. A bit more relatable characters, that someone you could meet in everyday life. It could be just round the corner, and the same could be said for the last episode, Love and Monsters. These could be people you could just meet round the corner, you could just bump into them at the shop or next door at your house or just in town or whatever, just in your normal life. You can bump into them and you could have this strange, mysterious goings-on happening in your very street as it happens, or you could be part of this little group that ends up getting themselves into a fantastical adventure. Hey, that's how most of the companions of the new series, and a couple of classics series companions, have managed to find themselves getting into adventures with the Doctor and other companions of the Doctor and other characters. It actually works really well, and I think that's one of the strengths of the new series. It's able to do relatability really, really well. And having related characters is really good. This episode also is a pretty good budget-saving episode. I am, however, not a fan of the scribble creature. I don't really think it's that necessary. It only really serves as a plot purpose for the Doctor and Rose to go to realise perhaps it's Chloe Webber who does this, who's doing this. In the bit where Chloe creates it, Chloe Isolus, it sounds like the pencil was snapped. She goes, "No!" and then just goes round to scribble it, which creates this creature that they find because of the Artron energy. But why didn't she just rub it out with the rubber on at the top? I know she's cross, but rubber. You got rubber. Rubbers and sharpness are just as important. And also, it sounded like the snapping of the pencil. It could be just the very bottom of it, but if it was the whole thing, then they shouldn't be able to draw. I don't know. Without sharpening again. But never mind. But I'm just not really a big fan of the scribble creature. I'm just not worried about it. It's an interesting concept, but I think I'm just not too fussed about it. I also am not really a fan of the song. Laugh Kookaburra Laugh that they sing. I know that's a very bottom of the barrel nitpick, but like underneath the mango tree from the film Doctor No, the James Bond film, just the more I hear it in that film, or hear this song in this episode, I don't like it. And also, this is not a criticism, but I do like how they portrayed the London 2012 Olympics 6 years before they actually happened, and how it looks in designs, including the stadium and the torch. It looks really great. But I'm happy to say that what we actually got in 2012 for the actual London 2012 Olympic Games was even better. And the torch alone looks fantastic, and the stadium is really cool as well. I didn't go see it live, but I did watch it on the telly when it happened. Doctor Who almost made a cameo there. There was a TARDIS sound effect. They were going to have the Doctor, or at least the TARDIS there anyway, but they didn't, sadly. But at least we got the TARDIS sound effect, and also the second of the two script-to-screen competitions mini-episode, Good as Gold, which had to meet a brief of being a Olympic-related story. It had to be some sort of tie into the Olympics of that year. So we got that, and we got the TARDIS sound effect at the opening ceremony. So that was good. Would have been better if the TARDIS actually popped up on the stage, but in the stadium itself. But oh well, it's only wishful thinking. And I do like the foreshadowing at the end of Fear Her. Oh, they always try to split us up, but they never do. Never say never. And then there's a storm coming. Yeah, some good foreshadowing for the next two stories. The next two episodes. On the whole, I think Fear Her is a simple but effective story. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular, but I think it works for what it is. It's not amazing. It's okay. It's got some funny moments, but it's not one I'd rush back to. I'm going to give Fear Her a 5 out of 10. Score actually seems lower to how I'm actually talking about it. I actually sound like I'm quite happy with it, but to be honest, there is a few things I'm not so keen on, and like I said, it's not a spectacular story. It's not one I'd rush back to. It's alright, but I'm not going to hate it as much as some other people. I don't consider it one of the worst episodes of the show. Not really. I think there's worse, both previously and still to come. Maybe it's one of the weaker new series ones by default. Depends. Again, we'll see what's to come, but I think it was alright. There's quite a few stories to give another try in both the classic and New Who series. So if you can find a couple, give them a rewatch. And this one's certainly one to give another try. But fair enough, if you end up not liking it, that's absolutely understandable. It is a very more child-friendly episode, and the adults didn't seem to really like it. The kids did, but the adults didn't really seem to like it. I think it's okay. I liked it when I was younger, I think, yes, so when I was a kid, and now I am an adult, but I'm still coming back to it with open mind and a love for this particular era, which sort of does. I'm trying not to let it cloud my judgment. I need to be harsher on some of these stories, but this one I think it's fine. It's not too bad, but it's not spectacular. I think it's fine. However, the writer of this story, Matthew Graham, would go on to write for the show again. And let's just say that next story that he writes will likely, if I don't give any rants to any story in the rest of the RTD era or in Series 5, the next likely story to get a rant from me, the first one's probably since Dragonfire, minus Dimensions in Time. The first one since Dragonfire, or if you count it Dimensions in Time, the first one since those stories would probably be The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People in Series 6. That's the second Matthew Graham written story in Doctor Who, and that's the next most likely rant review I will do for a Doctor Who episode, depending on how the stories between Army of Ghosts, Doomsday, and the Doctor's Wife go. There were quite a few that definitely won't be, though. But we'll see how the rest of the RTD era and Series 5 and the first bit of Series 6 go. Also, fun fact, Matthew Graham wrote a child-friendly episode as a last-minute script to replace an episode written by Stephen Fry, which was originally pushed back to be in Series 3 before being outright cancelled. Thankfully, Stephen Fry managed to get a acting appearance in Doctor Who in Series 12, albeit not for very long, but he still got a appearance in the show, which I don't know if it makes up for his episode not being used, but it's at least some sort of consolidation. Perhaps Big Finish will pick up his script and use it as in one of their Lost Stories range if they decide to do further Lost Stories. They recently did Lost Stories, ones that weren't made into TV. They recently did 2 new ones after a long time since the last lot, so perhaps they'll come back round to doing some more Lost Stories, and maybe we'll get some new series Doctor rejected stories, or at least some 10th Doctor ones, as they've got David Tennant. But we'll see. Maybe they'll pick up Stephen Fry's episode for a future Lost Stories audio. Maybe they won't. We'll see. Or maybe he'll do a Tom Baker and turn it into a book, like Tom Baker's Scratchman. But never mind. At least Stephen Fry got to appear in Doctor Who in Series 12, Episode 1, Spyfall, Part 1. You can check that review out on my main channel. Anyway, that's it from my review of Fear Her. Next time, the Series 2 finale, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Bring tissues, it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big rollercoaster epic adventure. Also, fun fact, this trailer at the end of Fear Her, as the next time trailer for Army of Ghosts Doomsday, it includes clips from both episodes. This is the first of currently only two times a next time trailer has had 2 episodes in the trailer. The coming up and coming soon trailers have had multiple episodes in there, clips from multiple episodes in their trailers, but the next time trailers are only for one episode. But the next time trailers are usually only for the next episode, apart from here, where they have clips from the next 2 episodes, and the same at the end of In the Forest of the Night for the next 2 episodes of Series 8, Dark Water and Death in Heaven. Clips from both episodes appear in that next time trailer. That's the second time. The first time is this one, where we have clips from Army of Ghosts and Doomsday in this trailer at the end of Fear Her. I'm wondering if they would do this again, but due to the shorter amount of time of the next time trailers in Series 11 and 12, it's not likely to be anytime soon, unless, like with the one at the end of Ascension of the Cybermen for the Timeless Children, which at time of recording, that was the last and going to be the next episodes, respectively, at time recording. The Timeless Child's next time trailer from the end of Ascension of the Cybermen was slightly longer than the usual ones. Resolutions one was just part of one scene, so that was a bit bland. So hopefully we'll get something more akin to the Ascension of the Cybermen trailer for Timeless Children's ones in Series 13. But anyway, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching this review of Fear Her, and I'll see you guys next time for Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. And then after that, the Series 2 ranking, then we'll be on to Series 3. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Now, before we get into this one, I do have to admit that before going into this episode, I wasn't really expecting to like... Oh! Anyway, before we get into this episode, I wanted to quickly say that I didn't really... No. Anyway, before we jump into the review, I'd just like to... Anyway, Fear Her. Like I said, there are stories that... Like I said, there are stories that a lot of people hate, but there are quite... But, yeah... And like I said in my Genesis of the Daleks review, I considered that story very overrated, even though I did like it before rewatch. And like I said in my... Oh, thank God, it stopped. So, and coming out of this story, possibly because Chloe Webber has nightmares of her late abusive father. Eventually, Rose has to get the pod. So having a child-friendly episode here makes a lot of sense, especially as... So I think my least favourite bits of... I don't really consider the acting or... I mean, I'm not really a fan of the actor. I don't think the... But, you know what? Maybe Doctor Who needs that once in a while. Maybe we need a more down-to-earth, regular appearance in a estate or some couple of houses. The same could be said for Love and Monsters in the last review. Hey, that's how some of the companions of the new series found themselves joining the doc. Hey, that's some. I think it doesn't really need to use too much budgetary. I think most of the budget would. I think there's only a little bit of CG. But anyway, I do have to say, however, that what we actually got in 2012 was far superior. Well, okay, not far superior, but which was a Olympic, Olympic store, which was about, we had to have some sort of time to the Olympics, but at least we got it. So in the end, this score might actually be lower than what I seem to be. This score might actually be lower. Maybe it's another one to give another chance to. There's quite a few of those in both classic and New Who story. I need to be a bit harsher on some of these earliest. I need to be a bit harsher on these. I do, however, don't like the. However, and let's just say that is the most likely next. That's the next Matthew. So yeah, but Fear Her, I think it's fine. Okay. Also, fun fact: this. Albeit not for a very long time in the episode, and not for, or at least the 10th Doctor ones, due to the actors of the 9th and 11th Doctor, as they've got David Tennant. So yeah, that's it from. Anyway, so that's it from my review of Fear Her. Next time, bring tissues. It's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a big. Includes clips from both episodes. Coming up and coming soon trailers. They've had multiple episodes in them. As seen at the end of the series 3, series 4, series 5 coming up. Trailers have had multiple. Wonder if they'll do it again. Probably not at the amount of. I wonder if they'll do it again. Probably not, due to the shorter time running of the next time trailers we get in the new. I don't. Then again, and Resolutions 1 was just part of one scene.